everybody, it's Brian.
Jason.
And this is your Perfectly Screwed podcast. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it today. No backstory, no talking about Elon Musk and his South African heritage.
Right.
We're going to jump right into the guy we're talking about, old Ronald Gene Simmons Sr., who was executed in 1990.
Ronald Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons!
Not to be mistaken
for Richard, or Gene, head of Kiss.
The lead singer of the band Kiss. Out there just murdering folks.
No, this guy...
this was Ronald Gene Simmons.
This guy had
Jr.
a beard that stretched down to his waist there. Look at this picture. That's not a killer.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's not a crazy psychopath. So, let me get this back. So, Ronald Gene Simmons Sr. was born July 15, 1940. He is known as a mass murderer, not a serial killer, because, as we've discussed on previous ones, he killed all his victims in one quick loop instead of having the cool-down phase that serial killers have. He just blew a gasket one day and killed a bunch of them.
Right.
So he killed 16 people in 1 week in Arkansas in 1987, and he wounded several others. He was a retired military serviceman, which of course he was. Of course he was from the military.
What branch?
I fucking don't know. We'll find out in a minute. So he murdered 14 members of his family, including a daughter he had repeatedly sexually abused, and the child he had fathered with her out of incest. I'm sure that was a chuddy child. One of those. That was the dude off the unit. His daughter.
Okay.
And he got her pregnant and had a child by her.
Wow.
And I'm sure the child was very intelligent.
Yeah. Absolutely. I bet it was raised just right.
Yeah, I'm sure he was a #1 kid there. But he also killed a former co-worker and a stranger. He also wounded 4 others. He is one of the most prolific mass murderers in Arkansas history. His shooting is also the deadliest mass shooting in Arkansas history. So, let's get into this guy here. So, he was born to Loretta and William Simmons on July 15, 1940 in Chicago, Illinois. His dad died of a stroke within a year of his birth. So his dad died, 1943 his dad died of a stroke, so 3 years after he was born. But within a year after his dad's stroke, when he was 3, his mother had remarried because she was obviously a winner there. She was clearly a whore.
Right.
Yeah. She didn't even wait a year. It was like January of 1943 when his dad died. She waited to December of 43 to get married, so, you know, I'm a hooker. I'm a hooker. And they wonder why, with parents like this, you make mass murderers. But I digress. So she remarried, this time to William D. Griffin, a civil engineer for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. In 1946, the Corps moved Griffin to Little Rock, Arkansas, the first of several transfers that would take the family across central Arkansas over the next decade. So, Ronald Simmons dropped out of school and joined the Navy, so he was in the Navy. In 1957, and he was stationed at a naval base in Burlington, Washington, where he met Becky Olaberry, who he married in New Mexico in 1960. So over the next 18 years, the couple had 7 children. In '63, Simmons left the Navy and approximately 2 years later joined the Air Force. That's odd. So he leaves the Navy, wants to be an Air Forceman now. During his 20-year military career, Simmons was awarded a Bronze Star Medal, the Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Cross, for his service as an airman, and the Air Force Ribbon of Excellent Marksmanship. Well, God knows he was a good marksman. I mean, 16 in a week. I mean, motherfucker was killing. He retired from the Air Force and military service in 1979 with the, I almost said time.
1979.
Yeah, time. Would you call that a shot?
Might as well.
Might as well. Again, if this is your first episode, we have a drinking game here on Perfectly Screwed. If I fuck up a word, don't say 79, say 70 time.
Right.
Yeah. Please take a shot of your favorite alcoholic beverage. I myself am drinking tea because I have cut down on my alcoholic beverage consumption quite a bit. And I'll tell you why, Jason. It's interesting. It's not just the calories that caused me to cut down on the alcoholic beverage consumption. I learned after working out for a while that alcohol actually reduces muscle recovery also. And since I have got into a healthy lifestyle and started to improve myself quite a bit as of late, I've learned that alcohol cuts down on muscle recovery and protein synthesis. So therefore, I've been trying
So it's not smart.
Yeah, it's not smart to drink if you're trying to gain muscle.
Right.
Right, and since that's my end goal, drinking is detrimental to this. But anyways, back to Simmons. So he retired in '79 as a master sergeant. On April 3rd, 1981, he was being investigated. Oh my God! There's
investigated.
He was being investigated. There's number 2 shot, guys.
Shot.
Number 2
shot.
Shot. Everybody.
Keep them coming.
Jesus Christ! He was being investigated. Jesus fuck! How do I fuck up investigated? By the Cloudcraft, New Mexico Department of Human Services for allegations that he had fathered a child with his then 17-year-old daughter Sheila, who he had been sexually abusing. Well, obviously, if you fathered a child with the bitch, I mean, you're fucking her. I mean, last I checked, your sperm don't jump out your body and jump into her pussy.
Not normally. Right.
I was jerking off on a toilet seat.
Right.
And it's like Clerks 2, man. You jerked off on the toilet seat and she got pregnant, didn't you, you bastard?
Oh my. Yeah.
So anyways, he was fearing arrest from New Mexico police there, so he fled New Mexico in late '81. But being 1981, wasn't that normal practice to fuck your daughter? I mean, really. It was 1981. I mean, they frowned down on that sort of behavior in '81.
Yeah.
Jesus, I thought the country was much more liberal back then. Well, Ronald Reagan and all, I guess it was coming back to the traditional American values. I guess fucking your daughter and her pussy. I mean, at least he could have done what the Catholic priests were doing, get some head or butt fucker.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean...
Did you have to knock her up?
Yeah. We draw the line and knocking her up, Ronnie. Okay?
Get your shit together, Ron.
Yeah. You're supposed to fuck her in her asshole, Ron, not her fucking puss.
Right.
God damn, we have standards here in New Mexico.
Daughter, for Christ's sake.
Jesus Christ! Anyways, so he moved his family first to Ward, Arkansas in Lonoke County, and then to Pope County near Dover, Arkansas. In the summer of '83, he took up residence on a 13-acre tract of land 6.5 miles north of Dover that they would dub Mockingbird Hill. So the residence was constructed of 2 older model mobile homes that he put together to I'm not saying you're a redneck, but you might be a redneck if your house is made of 2 mobile homes that you held together with a 2x4.
No, as you're reading that,
yeah,
like
Jesus
basically
Christ.
painting a perfect portrait of a
Jesus
fucking meth
Christ.
lab out the middle of
Jesus
nowhere
Christ.
in Arkansas. That's all I'm envisioning right now.
Well, you got Arkansas. You got this guy with a beard down to his fucking nutsack, bald head, fucking putting two old, mind you, mobile homes together. It wasn't even like they were new mobile homes.
Fucking his daughter.
Fucking his daughter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're redneck there, Ronnie, but Jesus fuck Christ, man.
I mean, I'm saying if you come across Ronnie's mobile homes, this is where they came up with the fucking plot for the movie Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets better. It gets better. They were joined together with plywood to form one large home, neither of which had a telephone nor indoor plumbing.
No. Don't need that out here.
They were surrounded by a makeshift privacy fence as high as 10 feet tall in some places, built with pallets. You can't make this shit up.
Well,
God damn.
how sturdy does it need to be, Brian? It's only smack dab in the middle of Tornado Alley.
We, as a result of the home's lack of plumbing, Simmons made his family dig 3 cesspits,
Nice.
one of which he eventually disposed of the bodies in.
Oh,
They
my God.
didn't even build an outhouse, dog. They dug 3 pits out beside the house and were shitting and pissing in the fucking dirt.
Kids, gather around. This pit's for piss. This pit's for shit. And this pit's for dead bodies. Now, goddamn it, you can't go mixing them. So don't fuck up.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And if anybody's trying to look, put up a couple pallets. And ain't nobody gonna see. I'm busy attaching the goddamn mobile homes. I got some plywood.
So during this time, Simmons worked a string of low-paying jobs in nearby town of Russellville, Arkansas. He quit a position as an accounts receivable clerk at Woodland Motor Freight after numerous reports of his inappropriate sexual advances to men and women. Jesus fuck Christ. So he went to work at a mini-mart for approximately a year and a half before quitting in December of 1987. By the time of the killings, the number of people within the home had reduced to 7 as 2 of the older children, Billy and Sheila, had moved out, married, and had children of their own. So shortly before Christmas, 1987, Simmons woke up one day and decided to kill all members of his family.
Oh, fuck.
On the morning of December 22nd, he first killed his wife, Rebecca, and eldest son, Gene, by bludgeoning them to death with a crowbar, and then shooting both of them with a .22 caliber pistol. He then proceeded to kill his 3-year-old granddaughter, Barbara, by strangling her to death with a rope he found. Simmons dumped the bodies in one of the cesspits he had forced the children to dig previously. Simmons then waited for his other children to return home from school for Christmas break. Upon their arrival, he told them he had presents for them, but he wanted to give them to them one at a time. So he led them into the back of the trailers. He first then killed his daughter, 17-year-old Loretta, who Simmons strangled and held underneath the water in a rain barrel outside until she drowned. The 3 other children, Eddie, Mary Ann, and Becky, were then killed in the same way as Loretta, and then dumped into the cesspit. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was the 22nd of December. So he waited a few days after doing all this. And then around midday on December 26th, the remaining family members arrived at the house. As Simmons had invited them over for the holidays.
Oh my God.
God damn! So, 4 days previously, he murders his whole family that lives there. Then, he goes out of his way to invite his remaining family over to the house for Christmas dinner. The first to be killed was Simmons' son Billy and his wife Renata, who were both shot dead. He then strangled and drowned their 20-month-old son Trey. Simmons also shot and killed his oldest daughter Sheila, who arrived later, whom he had had a child by and sexually abused. Then he shot her husband Dennis McNulty. Simmons then strangled his child that he had by Sheila, 7-year-old Sevilla Gale, and finally his 21-year-old grandson Michael. He strangled both of them. Simmons laid the bodies of his whole family in neat rows in the lounge of his trailer. The bodies were covered with coats except that of Sheila, who he covered with the best tablecloth he could find because, you know, she was special. You know, she was the one he liked to fuck, so she had to get the tablecloth, Jason. He couldn't cover her with a coat like the rest of the trash. He had to, you know, make sure she was covered with the best tablecloth he had.
I mean, this is...
Jesus Christ! Jesus fucking hell Christ!
This is disturbing. This is disturbing.
Then he took the bodies of Trey and Michael and wrapped them in plastic sheeting, and they were left in the abandoned cars that were at the end of the lane that, you know, the people that drove up in. After the murder, Simmons drove to a Sears store where he retrieved Christmas gifts that he had previously ordered for his family. That night he then went for a drink at a local bar before returning home, where he spent the rest of the evening and the following day drinking beer and watching television, surrounded by the presents and his decaying family's bodies. Oh, good Lord, Jesus.
I'm still fucking hung up right now. I'm not kidding.
That he drowned the 21 and 20-month-old children?
That, obviously, but he waited for kids to get home from school. And it was their last day of school before Christmas break.
They're all excited for Christmas presents and such.
And then they come home, they're excited as fuck. No school for a couple weeks. Dad's got presents, but individually.
Yeah. He takes them each outside and drowns them in the rain barrel.
I mean, that's fucked up.
There's a present. Here's your present. Die, bitch! Die!
What makes somebody snap like this, dude? I mean, yeah, strangling and killing babies? And like almost 2-year-old, like everybody knows like what an almost 2-year-old, you know what I mean? Like you're coming alive.
So
like you know what's going on.
After he spent the night drinking and watching television around his decaying family, the morning of December 28th, the next morning, he drove down to Walmart in Russellville, Arkansas, where he purchased another firearm because, you know, we can just let anybody in this country purchase firearms.
Sure.
Sure, crazy people like him, that's perfectly fine. That he would use to carry out the rest of his attack. His first target was a law firm where he had previously met a secretary, Kathy Cribbins Kendrick. Simmons had been infatuated with her and hit on her repeatedly, but she had rejected him. So he walked into the office, he shot and killed her. He next went to an oil company office where he intended to kill the owner, Russell Taylor. Taylor was also the owner of the Mini Mart from which he had recently resigned. He shot and wounded Taylor before killing another person in the building, James Chaffin. Chaffin was the only deceased victim who was a stranger to Simmons. He shot another employee in the building, but the bullet missed. Simmons then drove to the Mini Mart shooting and wounding 2 more people. His final target was the office of Woodline Motor Freight Company, where he shot his former supervisor twice, wounding her. He then ordered one of the employees at gunpoint to call the police. Simmons handed over his gun and surrendered without any resistance whatsoever. Throughout the 40-minute long rampage, Simmons had killed 2 and injured 4 others. So he just called the police and gave up. After his arrest, he underwent a psychiatric evaluation where he was found fit to stand trial. He first went on trial for the murders of Kendrick and Chaffin and was found guilty, being sentenced to death. He made an additional statement under oath supporting his sentence. He said, "I, Ronald Gene Simmons Sr., wanted to be known that it was my wish and my desire that absolutely no action by anybody be taken to appeal or in any way change my sentence. It is further respectfully requested that this sentence be carried out expeditiously." So he wanted to be murdered very quickly. He went on trial for the murders of his 14 family members and was found guilty on February 10, 1989, after being sentenced to death by lethal injection. As to motive, he never gave one, but a family friend told investigators that Simmons' wife had been saving up money to divorce him when the killings happened. During trial, Simmons had to be removed from the courtroom for punching the prosecutor and trying to grab a deputy's handgun. After the prosecutor introduced a letter between Simmons and his daughter Sheila, in which Simmons expressed anger that Sheila had revealed that he was the father of her child, and that he wrote that he would see her in hell. He refused to appeal his death sentence, stating, "To those who oppose the death penalty, in my particular case, anything short of death would be cruel and unusual punishment." The trial court conducted a hearing concerning Simmons' competence to waive further proceedings and concluded that his decision was knowing and intelligent. On death row, Simmons had to be separated from other prisoners as his life was threatened constantly. This was because he refused to appeal his death sentence. The other prisoners believed Simmons was damaging their chances as beating their own death sentence. In 1990, the execution warrant was signed, and on June 25th of 1990, he died by the method he had chose, which was lethal injection. None of his surviving relatives would claim his body, and he was buried in a potter's field in Lincoln County, Arkansas. So that's old Ronald Gene Simmons.
I mean, what a wow.
And he gave no reasoning for his.
Well, I would say yeah.
I mean, the divorce possibly, but I mean.
He finds out his wife's going to divorce him and leave him, and.
I mean, but is that really?
Snaps.
Yeah, but is that really a reason to go on a murder rampage and kill your whole fucking family? I mean,
of course not.
Jesus Christ.
Of course it's not.
I mean, that's a bit of an reaction.
Of course, but
I mean,
at least it's some.
But I mean,
it's some kind of trigger. I mean, you know what I mean. He didn't just. Hey, I'm just going to kill him for no reason.
Right, but we're also talking about a guy who was clearly the biggest redneck you ever met in your life. I mean, he had no problems. He obviously had no moral issue with raping and fathering a child with his daughter.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, got pissed at her and said, "I'll see you in hell," when she told everybody he raped her and fucking for years and, you know, fathered her child.
That might have been another.
I mean, that's probably why he killed her.
Might have been another reason, right?
Right, but even after he killed her, he made sure she got the best tablecloth, Jason.
Well, that's true.
That's true, yeah. She had to be laid out with the best tablecloth. And then what the weird thing is that I find weird about this, he dumps all the bodies in a cesspit to start. Then he goes and digs them the fuck out of the said pit, puts presents around them for Christmas, covers them up, and sits there and drinks. I mean, you have to be, at that point, completely out of your fucking gourd, man. to do shit like that, you can't be a normal human being.
Yeah, dude, just
I mean, there's,
up, man.
I mean, you had to snap beyond snap. I mean, that's snapping to extreme levels.
Like I said, it's disturbing.
It's almost like the Uber guy that we talked about that just went off one day and thought Uber was telling him to kill people.
Yeah.
No reason whatsoever, just started mowing folk down.
Dude, I just can't. It's just crazy, man. Kids.
I mean, I understand the going and killing your old bosses. And even the secretary. I get that.
Yeah.
Because there's been some bosses I wouldn't have mind killing either.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't understand the killing of the little kids. They did nothing to you. I mean, unless it was like he had to kill them because he killed the parents. I don't get it, but, you know, maybe in his...
Yeah, I think once he made the decision to kill everybody,
everybody
was dying,
yeah. Well, anyways, this was our episode on Ronald Gene Simmons. I hope you liked it, and we will see you next time.
Later.